Hello everyone, I am Dipansh and I welcome you all to Power Corridors. Today I am with Major General R.S. Yadav and it's a pleasure, sir, to be with you. It's an honor sitting with you and discussing on this conflict, on this situation. Sir, first of all, thank you to be with the Power Corridors. My first question will be that what motivated you to join the military and how did your family respond to your decision of joining the military?
My father was also in the army. Rather, I'll say that he was initially in the Punjab government as an excise and taxation inspector. But after 1962 war, when the Indian army was recruiting, he joined the army during the emergency in 1963. So all my childhood, I have seen army, air force, and the navy, and that is what motivated me. Not only him, my uncle, my Chachaji, was also initially commissioned into the ranks in air force, and then subsequently he became an officer in the Indian army. So I think these two examples, whom I revered, were motivation enough for me to choose army, to join the army. And I would like to only make one statement that while choices do come, I remember that after my 11th class, as it used to be in our time, I had earned the Senior Science Talent Scholarship also, and on one side, the result for NDA came. And at that particular time, I made a considered choice that I want to join the army, and that's how I joined NDA and then got commissioned into the army.
That's indeed a very interesting part of your life. So my next question is, can you briefly share your journey in the armed forces? Because armed forces are very adventurous life. The life of the armed forces is very adventurous. So, and what role did you play during your service?
So let me begin first by saying that adventure, discipline, and sports. These are the three things which are seen everywhere in the armed forces. And I think that was the spirit with which one joined the army. And I would like to highlight one more thing, that it was by choice that I wanted to be a front ranking soldier. And therefore, despite my father's insistence that I should join one of the technical arms, I chose to join infantry, and I got commissioned into the famous Rajputana Rifles, and I've had a wonderful career. Now, coming to the second part of your question, that how has been my journey? I think 4 years of training, NDA, I passed out with the President's Medal. Later in the Indian Military Academy, too, I did quite well. And thereafter, 38 years of long service in the Indian Army. I think it has been a major portion of the life. And during these 38 years, I think there was hardly any nook and corner of India which was left out. So I served on the Pakistan border, I served on the Chinese border, and one of the high moments of my career was that when I commanded our Rashtriya Rifle battalions in Jammu and Kashmir in the counter-insurgency and counter-terrorist operations for 3 years in the second heightened period post-Kargil. Apart from that, I like to say that the army gave me a chance to have a diplomatic tenure, wherein I was posted to the embassy in Saudi Arabia as a defense attaché, where I was responsible for three countries: Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Yemen. That was in the period 2007 to 2010. And coming to the higher ranks, I think I will like to highlight one achievement which should be sufficient to express myself that I became a general officer commanding, and I commanded the Amritsar division, which is in the limelight as on date.
Your life in the army is just like a superhero. Uh, you commanded Rashtriya Rifles Unit, and you were also defense attaché in Saudi Arabia. That's a dream for many young boys and girls. So my next question would be, how has your life changed since retiring from your active duty? I know it is not easy for an military man to transition from uh, army uniform to civilian life, but how has your life changed, and what is currently your agenda?
Uh, yes, you are correct that post retirement the life changes. But I think, as far as me and my wife are concerned, I think we didn't let it change. We were into a lot of physical activity in the form of sports uh, and adventure activities. So, post retirement, we did not give it up. So, the active life has remained. Immediately after retirement, I would like to mention that for almost a year, I was appointed as the Vice Chancellor of a university in 2018. In 19, we took a break for about an year in which we have toured extensively all across India, and we have been doing those major trips. The longest one being 42 days when we traveled to Nepal and further to Kailash Mansarovar, and we have done a number of such trips which is more than 20-25 days. So that activity has remained, and thereafter during the COVID time when we were restricted to our home, I reverted back to my another interest, that is writing. And when I started writing, I was called upon by the United Service Institution of India to join them. So for the last 5 years, I am with the United Service Institution of India, which is one of the oldest think tanks of Asia per se. It is 156 years old. And today I sit in front of you as director of the Center for Strategic Studies and Simulation, which is the main face of USI, which you can see in the background also. However, hereafter, because you're going to be asking me a lot of questions, I would like to specify that my views will be my personal views, and they should not be attributed to either the USI or to any government office. They'll be totally personal.
Okay, sir. Thank you for your insight in your early life and post retirement. Now we'll come to the more serious and more serious part. Currently, India is facing an external threat from Pakistan. Pakistan has been, the epicenter of terrorism for many decades, and it has been, you know, exporting terrorism all across the globe for many decades. But what is difference? What is the difference in this Pahalgam attack? The Pahalgam attack has uh, brought an upheaval and uproar uh, in the country. So, how do you see this attack, and what's the difference between the other attacks and this attack?
So it will be better to understand things from a perspective actually when it all began. I think all the viewers are quite familiar with the fact that when India and Pakistan were created as two independent nations, Pakistan carried a grudge right from day one that Kashmir should have been with them, but it went to India. So that factor has continued to play in their side. From 1947 to 1971, we fought three wars: 47, 48, 1965, 1971, in which they tried to attack and tried to grab portions of Jammu and Kashmir. 71, we created Bangladesh out of Pakistan. Yet again, in a conventional thing, they did Kargil, where also they could not succeed. So, in a way, if I were to say, it was that Pakistan tried time and again to fight conventionally with India and gain something, but they were not successful. So there came a time uh, around 1988-89 when Pakistan resorted to proxy war. It means exporting terrorism to India. So now it is almost 35 years that India has been facing a proxy war from Pakistan, and the intensity and color has been changing. They have been utilizing religion, they have been utilizing terrorist tanzeems, they have been utilizing the local people and everything over a period of time, and they have been perpetrating various atrocities inside India. Some of the major ones can be listed out. So whether it was the Parliament attack, whether it was the Mumbai attacks, whether it was the Chitti Singhpura and all those things. But in recent times also, they continued the most memorable ones being the Uri attack, which we retaliated. Again, the Pulwama attack in 2019, which we retaliated. And now has come Pahalgam. So, if you see, the chain has been continuous without a break. Every 3, 4, 5 years, they have been creating a situation where they want to continue to remain in limelight, undermine India, and try to attain whatever they want to. Now, your question, what is different in Pahalgam? If you see that earlier they were targeting security forces, they were also targeting civilians, and they were also targeting a particular sect or a religion. So in Chitti Singhpura, rather let me go said earlier that in 1988-89 they targeted the Kashmiri Pandits. In Chitti Singhpura they targeted the Sikhs. Later on it became Bombay, it was all across, and certain other things also. Then they targeted the security forces. But ever since the strong government has come into India and we are wanting to change things, it has become difficult for Pakistan. So while they did Uri and they did Pulwama, but after the abrogation of Article 370 and 35 Alpha, it has become a prestige issue with them, and they were wanting to find an occasion to do something drastic. They did try last year also when one of the buses was targeted, but luckily that bus went down and we had lesser number of casualties. Otherwise, maybe all of them would have died. It was again a bus full of pilgrims, which was Hindus. But this time in Pahalgam, now let's read what has happened. It is because I'm talking to the country viewership. It is a very, very well planned operation in which a lot of things can be connected. Pakistan being under pressure, at home they are troubled in Balochistan, they are troubled in Sindh, they are troubled in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and on the other side they are losing ground in Kashmir because of good governance and a strong government. So they planned this particular thing. The things can be joined as it was something very strange that the Chief of Army Staff of the Pakistan Army will make such a statement which is so volatile. To say that Pakistan and India got created on a two-nation theory, Hindus and Muslims are two different people, their differences are irreconcilable, so it means there can never be peace, and thereafter going on to other things, it was something out of the blue. If you come down to this terrorist attack, It has come out already in the media. There is no denying that fact that a well-trained team infiltrated. They were given support by the overground workers, maybe some locals. They wrecked the area. One video is also floating in which they are seen, one of them is seen moving along the pony rider, where that lady Ekta has made a statement. So they had adequate time and local support to do it. And the most tragic part of this particular operation was that they were very crude and they wanted to send a message home. They have targeted only the males. They have killed them at point blank range in front of their wives and families. They have ascertained their identity before killing them to ascertain that they were Hindus, and in a very crude way by asking them to either recite kalma or to put down their trousers to show whether they are circumcised or not. Even a blatant statement was made to the lady that go and tell Modi. So, if you see the entire flow of this particular thing, it was, apart from being an act of desperation, it is slightly different than the other terrorist attacks which have taken place with a larger agenda. Earlier, it was only Kashmir. It is this time beyond that they want to create a societal rift in India between the Hindus and the Muslims. The idea is very dangerous, and I am sure that people at the helm, Indian government and other people, that we have to be mature, stay restrained, but avenge this particular thing, because we cannot let Pakistan continue to have its say almost about 77 years down the line.
So, both the countries, got independent at the same time. But what is the difference between India and Pakistan? Why we are not doing such things? Why only then the Pakistanis, have taken support or supporting their local? Why them?
Okay, I point out that a nation state, as per a modern definition, has certain basic constituents to it, and those constituents are ethnicity, language, religion, sovereignty, and territory. But has Pakistan followed this? There is a problem. Pakistan got created on a two-nation theory. It means Hindus and Muslims cannot stay together. Therefore, we want a different area. Pakistan gets created. Hindus and Muslims, they follow different religion, different practices. However, while India followed its own path, as I will state subsequently, but Pakistan was very rigid. First of all, it came out with something called as objective resolution in 1949. What did they say in that? Sovereignty belongs to Allah. It means that the state or the government can exercise authority within the limits of Allah oblique religion. So that was the start point which set the tone for Islamic orientation in governance. So government, but oriented and guided by Islam. Down the line, 73, they declare themselves as an Islamic state, and everything according to Islam. Blasphemy laws, that nothing beyond this will be tolerated. Right? Now this has happened. 1979, they get involved as a client state of the US to fight the Russians in Afghanistan. So it led to 10 years of war, and in those 10 years, they created Taliban and such like terrorist organizations. So by the time the war finished in 88-89, Pakistan was the hub center of terrorism. So they had a ready thing available to them when they launched the proxy war in India. Because those terrorists had to be employed, and where to employ them best? Against your enemy. So India was the target, and they have been doing this. So this is the third element which came into play. Side by side, there has also been another development, is the military aspect. Very early after independence of Pakistan, the military generals took control of the governance, and the practice has been going on even in today's date, when they have a democratic government, but it is fully controlled and guided by the military. So therefore the fourth angle comes into play. So if I would say that Pakistan is a totally confused state, enmity to India, uncalled for, religion, terrorism, military dominance, and what else? So they are pulling in four different directions. If you see on ground, they have not been able to take care of their people. I have already mentioned Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, I have already mentioned Balochistan, I have already mentioned Sindh. Even in Gilgit-Baltistan, the people are not happy. So they have not been able to keep their people happy because of continuing to follow the feudal system. Old thing. Military has got a lot of land, big jagirdars and everybody. They have not taken care of their people. So they are behind the modern world. In comparison, if you see that the people whom they seek support from, so whether you see the Middle East countries, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Qatar and all these people, they have progressed. But in Pakistan, they continue to follow the very, very rudimentary practices of Islam, which they have imposed upon themselves and imposed upon their people. So therefore, I feel all in all, Pakistan is a confused state in today's date, and the only way out for them is periodically create a situation, and because they are trouble creators, they tend to get away. I would also like to mention that this particular thing is being supported because sometimes the US wants them, sometimes somebody, today China wants them. So therefore, despite all the wrong things they do, there are people to provide them with the support, and they continue to survive, and they will continue to create trouble as they are.
Do you think that the current diplomatic and military action that has been taken against Pakistan for the past 2 days is effective, or is it going to escalate more? What are your views?
You see, before I give the answer to this particular question, I would also like to state something about India, Bharat, because what we are doing on ground today, how we are responding and reacting, it's a follow-up of that, right? So if I were to say that Bharat is a 5,000 years old civilization, we started with the Vedic period, we passed through the Indus Valley civilization, we have passed through the Mauryan age, we have gone through the Gupta age, which is called the golden period of India, and subsequent is recent history, which is well known to people. Now, what is very prominent in this particular thing? That despite everything, India followed some foundational elements and principles. What are those? Philosophical inquiry. So all our epics, whether it is Veds, Puran, Upanishads, Mahabharata, Ramayana, is all into philosophical inquiry to get the best answer to everything. The second thing is reverence to nature, that you are one with the earth and the nature. The third is family structure and ethos, because that becomes the basic founding entity for us around which the society develops and revolves. The fourth is societal thought, not only for yourself, think for everybody. So today, when we say Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, when we say one earth, one family, one future, is everything flowing out of this thought. It is not coming out of the blue, or it is not some recent coining. Pluralism, take everybody along. Dharma, which is wrongly understood by a lot of people. Dharma does not mean religion. Dharma is a way of life as to how an individual is supposed to act, behave, and live his life. So that is what is our foundation. And because of such a strong foundation, India has withstood various invasions, colonization, and everything. So what I mentioned in my previous response, the elements of a nation state, we have all those things, but we are something beyond that. We are on a much higher platform. So we are a culturally unified region, apart from being a strong nation state also. Right? Now, from this flows our strategic thought. Because when you're asking me that question, that what we are doing today is correct, I think this is also important, that what has been our thought. So as I said, that over the centuries, our strategic thought has evolved, in which there are certain important aspects which I'd like to point out. First is endurance. The second thing is patience. The third thing is ethical restraint. You have to be human. We have been giving preference to defensive rather than offensive strategies. Hold till you can, and dharma, of course, is the thing. Now, if I may say that, let's go through the mythological history also. That we have not been totally submissive, we have been practical. So, during the Treta Yuga, Ram, we see how he has behaved or governed in Ramayana. But by the time we came to Dwapar, we see Lord Krishna. So there was a distinct difference. The elements of statecraft changed. Then we came to the more recent times. We have Arthashastra written by Kautilya during the Mauryan times. It is in the BC period. But then look at the knowledge base which was there in India, that even in Arthashastra, he defines statecraft. Each and every aspect has been outlined, and even the modern things which are being practiced today were part of it. So whether it was the use of spies, whether it was the use of alliances, whether it was the use of deception, all these things have been followed in today's. But what went wrong? I'll be not very categoric, but that's what my personal opinion is, that while we had all the things of acting practical, but somewhere certain things became more dominant. While Ashoka was called as the Mauryan king who had a large part of the empire under him, but then when he adopted Buddhism, it initiated an element of pacifism. Be kind. Don't fight. It was subsequently followed by Gandhi, who preached non-violence. And if you see that in the same period, we had a lot of people, so whether it was revolutionaries and krantikaris during the freedom movement, or whether we had the Marathas and a lot of other Hindu states which fought for their right, but somehow these two principles came to be dominating post independence. We went through that initial phase when we got independence. I feel that the defense aspects, because the division had already taken place, so the defensive aspects were subordinated to the developmental needs of the country. I don't blame anybody, but that is what happened. Thereafter, we shifted to realism for some time, 1971, and then going for the nuclear blasts in 1998. That period we dominated and we exerted ourselves, but somehow I think after that we again became slightly soft and submissive. Why I say so? Kargil happened. We, despite knowing that that has been done by Pakistan deliberately as per our plan, we did not want to cross the LOC. Parliament attack happened, an attack on the nation's edifice, but we did not take action. Mumbai attack happened, not much retaliation, and we have seen incidents like this. So I will say that post that period, again, element of submissiveness or that nature happened. But I am glad to see that the governance today has taken it upon themselves that we need to come out of that long slumber, and therefore we went in for Uri, cross border. It was a tit for tat thing. When it again happened 3 years later, we went for the airstrike, upping the ante, because ground, when Air Force crosses, then it means a step higher. So we went for Balakot, and now after Pahalgam, I think what is happening in today's date, as we will discuss, is a strong decision and a resolve by the government that enough is enough, and India is not going to tolerate such activities from a neighbor who has been perpetually doing wrong things. So this has been the thing. Now coming to the last part and the actual question which you asked, that are the diplomatic and military strategies which are being adopted, are they effective? I think we'll start with the diplomatic thing first, because that is what happens straight away. So if we were to see that Pahalgam happened on 22nd April, and we have taken the first countermeasure on 7th of May, 6th and 7th night we have taken that. So we have waited for enough period to first of all ascertain who did it, how did it happen, why it happened. We told everybody that this is done by Pakistan or Pakistan supported elements, and it is only after that that we have done what we did on 7th. I would like to point out here that in what we did, it was very pointed, very focused, very measured, and a restrained thing. Because the terrorists had done something, we targeted only the 9 terrorist locations, which did not have any collateral damage. There are various reports of whether 90 or 100 terrorists got killed or whether their headquarters got demolished. So that was the idea of sending a message that India is not going to tolerate anything related to terrorism. However, soon thereafter, it was Pakistan who upped the ante. they started firing across the LOC, all across the LOC, violating the ceasefire thing, and we had to retaliate. It was yesterday that they did not stop there, and they targeted a number of airfields and towns in India by missiles, by drones, and by even aircrafts. Because as per the reports which have come, I think 2 or 3 aircrafts have been downed, which have fallen into the Indian territory. So it is Pakistan having escalated the thing on 22nd April. They again escalated the thing on 7th night, and they again escalated on the 8th and 9th night. So we have been diplomatically very, I'll say, measured. We have kept everybody informed. We have kept within the realm of reactive. We have not yet gone on anything offensive. It is because Pakistan does something, we have reacted till now. But how the things will go ahead is only to be seen. As far as the military strategies are concerned, one will not talk openly, but suffice to say that the armed forces are very much prepared. They are in good morale. All contingencies have been thought through, and our response has been absolutely appropriate and measured up to what Pakistan is doing. India possibly may not be interested in enhancing to an all-out war, but if the situation demands, I think the Indian government and the armed forces are fully prepared, and we'll go ahead with that.
Thank you for your insights, sir. And specifically, I would like to mention that you brilliantly mentioned Chanakya's philosophy of Sam Dandukir. And our generation is not familiar with that. So I guess by watching you, they got to know about that. What role does misinformation or psychological warfare play in such conflicts? Because there is a lot of information flow happening. So what is your take on that?
Getting into fist fight or a kinetic warfare, as they say, firing bullets, killing each other, only happens as the final resort. So, this psychological warfare and misinformation has been part of warfare from times immemorial. I'll quote 2 things. I think in Mahabharata, Ashwatthama मारा गया. It was something to do with that. तो वहाँ पे भी it was dual meaning. So it was misinformation. Something similarly happened in the Battle of Troy, where people got into the belly of that horse, wooden horse, and they entered and they did what they did. So things of this nature have been happening. But what has changed today? The means of fighting, because of the technology, have become so powerful that they can create havoc and destruction in no time. Therefore, using the same technology, we have got into the domain of grey zone warfare. Now, grey zone, in a layman's language, it should be understood in 2 ways. That is, it can be understood that what happens before the actual hostilities are joined, before a bullet is fired or borders are crossed. And the second way is what happens without the use of weapons. Right? So today you have so much of communication means, you have internet, you have social media and all those things, which are very, very strong weapons. You can change the mindset of a person by going through social media. You can impose heavy penalties on your adversary through economic manipulations. So whether it is putting down a stock exchange, whether it is manipulating the price of shares, whether it is manipulating the trade, anything can be done by all these measures. So misinformation, giving wrong information, reducing the morale of the country or the armed forces, anything can be done. So I think misinformation war and the psychological warfare have come to play a major role. And a country like China makes a statement that they want to win a war even without fighting it. That is their stated strategy. So it means, how will they win? They will win only through gray zone warfare. Create a situation that the other person capitulates and they give up. So you hardly have to do any actual fighting to gain what you wanted to gain. So therefore, these two factors I think are playing a very big role. This is very much evident in the last 3-4 days on the news. Pakistan makes a claim, 3 Rafales and 1 Mirage and 1 MiG has been downed, right? I have destroyed so many cities, I have destroyed this and all those things, and counter claims from our side, certain world news coming up on this thing. All this is misinformation, and it normally picks up speed in the fog of war. Now that both the sides have got involved into a kinetic contact, such information will flow to impact each other, but we have to be careful that and mindful that we keep it under check and do not get swayed by such misinformation or wrong information. Yeah.
I'll come to the last segment of our conversation, sir. That what advice would you give to the youth who wish to serve the nation either in uniform or as responsible citizens? What is on with you?
Our Prime Minister makes a statement almost in every speech or talk he gives. He says 140 करोड़ लोग भारतीय. So that is what we are talking about. That it is not only the government, it is not only the armed forces, but it is the whole nation which makes a difference. So therefore, everybody is important. We cannot and should not discount in today's world that we just are dependent on, say, 13.5 lakhs of armed forces or maybe another 15-20 lakhs of the Central Armed Police Forces. No, everybody counts. How? I will only leave one mantra with my countrymen, Bharatwasi. Why do we, I will say, respect a soldier? You respect him because of his discipline, because of his wafadari, and because he is ready to give his life for the nation. These are the 2-3 very basic qualities which a soldier has. What is wrong in case I were to ask all Bharatwasis that why don't you become a soldier in your own way? You don't have to be called a soldier till the time you don a uniform. Why? A shopkeeper can be a soldier, a factory worker can be a soldier, a housewife can be a soldier, a child can be a soldier. It is only imbibing these qualities which is important. So my mantra is Har Ghar Durg, means follow the age-old familial thing. If the family is strong, every house will be a fortress. Nobody can get through you. And Har Bharatiya Sipahi. Become a Sipahi in your own way So the mantra is Har Ghar Durg or Har Bhartiya Sipahi. Agar hum we follow this particular principle, I think there is nobody which can face India in the times to come.
On this great message, on this great note, I would like to conclude our conversation. Thank you, sir, for joining with us for your valuable time, and I hope in future as well we'll converse again. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you so much.